In December 2025, something happened in Washington that almost nobody outside of the policy circle noticed. And it may be the most consequential strategic move of the decade. The United States quietly gathered eight of its closest technology allies in a room and announced a new alliance. Not a military alliance, not a trade deal, something far more targeted and far more dangerous for China. They called it Pax Silica. And on February 20th, 2026, India signed on. To understand why Pax Silica matters, you need to understand one uncomfortable fact about how the modern world actually works. Every advanced technology you use, your smartphone, your laptop, the AI you spoke to this morning, runs on semiconductors, chips. And right now, more than 90% of the world's most advanced chips are made in one place. Think about what that means. The entire global economy, $5 trillion in technology products annually, is dependent on a small island that China claims as its own sovereign territory. In April 2024, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake hit Taiwan. TSMC evacuated fabs. The world held its breath. Analysts calculated that a full production halt would cost the global economy $2.7 trillion in first year alone. And China knows this. Which is why controlling Taiwan or simply threatening it is the most powerful economic leverage Beijing holds over Washington, Tokyo, Seoul, and every other capital on the earth. The second problem is China's stranglehold on the raw materials chip require. Lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, the minerals without which no chip gets made, no EV gets built, no AI data center gets powered. In 2023 and 2024, China began restricting export of gallium, germanium, and graphite, all critical for semiconductor manufacturing, as direct retaliation against US chip export controls. The message was unmistakable. You sanction our chips, we choke your supply chain. Pax Silica is America's answer to both of these problems simultaneously. And the architecture of how it does, it is genuinely elegant. Pax Silica was launched on December 12, 2025, at an inaugural summit in Washington. 7 founding nations signed the declaration alongside the United States, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, the UK, Australia, Israel, and Qatar. The Netherlands and UAE participated but did not immediately sign. India formally joined on February 20th, 2026. But here is what makes Pax Silica different from every previous tech agreement. It is not just about chips. It covers the entire supply chain that powers the AI economy, from the ground to the cloud. Layer 1, critical minerals, lithium, cobalt, rare earths. Layer 2, energy, because AI data center requires as much electricity as the small cities. Layer 3, advanced manufacturing, the fabs, the packaging plants, the testing units. Layer 4, semiconductors, the actual chips. Layer 5, AI infrastructure, the servers, data centers, and the model themselves. Layer 6, logistics, secure shipping routes, trusted supply chains, end-to-end. That is not a throwaway line. That is a declaration that Pax Silica is intended to be to the AI age what the petrodollar system was to the oil age. A framework that locks in American economic dominance for the next 50 years. Here is the detail that most Indian media completely missed when covering this story. India was not invited to the founding summit. 7 nations signed the original declaration in December 2025. India was not among them. It received a formal invitation only after Ambassador Sergio Gore extended one directly, and India joined 2 months later. Why was India not an original founding member? And what does that tell us about India's actual position in this alliance? The founding 8 were chosen because they already host the world's most critical technology companies and investors. Japan has equipment makers, South Korea has memory fabs, the Netherlands has ASML, the sole manufacturer of extreme ultraviolet lithography machine, without which no advanced chip can be made. Singapore has logistics and financial infrastructure. India was not in that founding group because India does not yet host those crown jewel technology assets. It does not have an ASML, it does not have a TSMC. Its most advanced fab, the Tata PSMC plant in Gujarat, will produce chips at 28 nanometers, while the TSMC is already mass producing at 2 nanometers. But here is what India does have, and why Pax Silica needs India more than India needs Pax Silica. First, the talent at scale. 20% of the global semiconductor design workforce is Indian. Qualcomm, Intel, Nvidia all run massive design centers in Bangalore and Hyderabad. Second, market scale. India's 1.4 billion people represent the largest untapped consumer market for AI-powered devices on Earth. No tech ecosystem survives without a deployment market. India is that market. Third, geopolitical insurance. India is the only Pax Silica member that borders China on land, controls sea lane through the Indian Ocean, and maintains relationship with Russia, Iran, and Global South simultaneously. That makes India the alliance's diplomatic shock absorber. So what does India actually gain by joining Pax Silica? Three concrete things and one strategic gamble. Concrete gain 1. Access to the advanced chips. Member nations get priority access to US AI technology and are shielded from certain export control restrictions. For a country building out AI data centers, serving 1.4 billion people, this is not a small thing. Concrete gain 2. Investment and co-investment. Pax Silica creates a framework for joint semiconductor project with project financing subsidies from allied governments. The US has already allocated $250 million to a dedicated Pax Silica fund for critical minerals and manufacturing. Concrete gain 3. Technology transfer that actually happens. Micron's $3 billion plant in Gujarat is already operational. Applied Materials and Lam Research are building R&D hubs. Intel's glass substrate facility in Odisha is coming online in 2026. And the strategic gamble. India is betting that being inside Pax Silica gives it leverage over the standards and norms that will govern the global AI economy. Participation gives India a seat at the table in shaping how the rules of the AI age get written. That is worth more than any individual technology transfer. Now let's talk about what Pax Silica does to China, because this is the point of the entire exercise. China's semiconductor ambition has one critical bottleneck. It cannot build advanced chips without ASML's EUV machines. The Netherlands is a Pax Silica founding member. ASML will not sell to China. That door is permanently closed. China's SMIC is currently stuck at 7 nanometers using older deep ultraviolet lithography with techniques so improvised that semiconductor engineers calls it heroic engineering. Meanwhile, TSMC is mass producing at 2 nanometers. That is not a small gap. It is a structural, compounding gap that grows larger with every technology generation. China's response has been to throw money at the problem. Over $150 billion in semiconductor subsidies since 2014. It has produced impressive mature node capacity, but at the advanced nodes that power AI, China remains structurally locked out. Pax Silica now formalizes and accelerates that lockout by the coordinating export controls, supply chain standards, and technology transfer restrictions across 11 nations simultaneously. It is not one country sanctioning China's tech industry. It is the entire trusted technology ecosystem acting in concert. So where does this leave us, and what comes next? Pax Silica is the most significant technology alliance formed since the Cold War. Not because what it does today, but because of the order it is trying to lock in for the next 30 years. It is an attempt to make the trusted AI supply chain synonymous with the democratic supply chain, and to make China's access to that ecosystem permanently conditional on geopolitical behavior. For India, the strategic calculus is clear. India is not yet a semiconductor manufacturing power, but it is being invited into the room where the rules get made. And that invitation comes with a technology transfer co-investment, and market access that will accelerate India's chip ambitions by a decade. My forecast: within 5 years, India will be producing chips that matter, the 28 to 45 nanometer chips that power 80% of the global electronics, cars, appliances, defense systems, industrial machinery. The AI edge is Taiwan's game. The volume game, the one that actually runs the world economy, is the game India is positioning to win. The question is not whether Pax Silica succeeds. The question is whether India can move fast enough to claim its share of it before the alliance founding members consolidate their positions. Pax Silica is not just a semiconductor alliance. It is America's attempt to write the rules of the AI century, and India just got a seat at the table. If you want to understand the strategy beneath the headlines, subscribe and tell me in comments, did India join Pax Silica too late? Or is being a late joiner actually a strategic advantage? I want to read your take.